Well, hello everybody, and welcome to another F1 chat. And this one's going to be quite a juicy one. You see, the last one we did, we were talking about Binotto going to Audi and whether I thought it was a good move or not. And I didn't think it was a good move. I thought it wouldn't be right, him being the chief team principal of Audi. It doesn't seem to work and everything like that. But clearly, I got that completely wrong because Binotto isn't the team principal. He's the head of the project. So, and the reason I found out about that is because Jonathan Wheatley is the going to be the principal of Audi, and we'll look into whether that's a good thing or not for Audi. I do think it's a good one, but want to go into further detail on that. But this feels like it's revealing a bigger problem. That's two successful chief staff of Red Bull that have left in months of each other. And that's concerning. Not just Sergio Newey, who everyone is celebrated, but Jonathan Wheatley, who I think has been one of the most underrated sporting directors or staff at all in Formula One. They're all going, and we still don't know where Adrian Newey is going, but we now know that Wheatley's going to Audi. It's going to be really interesting. And whilst we haven't got all the facts because we're not part of Red Bull, there are certain facts that we have brought it down to, and it's quite clear that all these problems seem to stem from one incident. The incident that happened at the start of the year or the start of the F1 season, which was the one and only Christian Horner. Christian Horner's events in and everything that happened in regards to that. Now, look, I don't think there's anything doubting Christian Horner's capabilities in Formula One. He is clearly a brilliant principal. You know, this isn't somebody who has gone from successful team to successful team and just kept jumping around. He just so happened to be successful at any of them. He has been the principal of Red Bull since they started in the mid-2000s. Since they started from being this jokey team to being this dominant force. And even when they weren't perfect, they were still the third best team on the grid and respected. And I want to also address this in terms of Red Bull as well, because before I start talking more about Christian Horner and everything going on, people have been talking about, is Red Bull disintegrating from the inside out? Very much like what Verstappen said at the start of the year, because of the incidents that all happened. And I have to say, I don't think it will happen. I don't think Red Bull are going to disappear from Formula One. Why is that? Well, mainly by looking at the goal of each team. If you're a manufacturer of a car manufacturer, it's quite easy to see what you're in Formula One for. Whether that be you are Mercedes, McLaren, Ferrari, Alpine, Aston Martin, you are there to promote your brand, to sell more cars. You look at teams like Williams, there's nothing for them to sell. They are in it purely for the love of the sport. Even if you were talking about merchandise, that's still for the love of the sport, right? And what about Red Bull? Are they there to market Red Bull? Well, if they are, seems like a pretty useless endeavour for me. What's the first thing you think of when you think of energy drinks? Red Bull. Very first thing you think of. Red Bull gives you wings, all that jazz, right? It's been drummed into our mind for so long. If Red Bull are in it to sell more Red Bull, I don't think they're making any more money from being a Formula One competitor to not. Which means if they're not in it for the money, they must be another Williams-style team, another team that's in it for the love of the race, the sport, the love of racing, the love of the competition, the love of adrenaline, which you see through the other things they do in the Red Bull program, whether that be plane racing, whether that be the Bathurst 3000, whether that be rallying, whether that be sometimes building skydiving from ridiculous levels above the earth. They're there for the thrill, and if they're there for the thrill, they're going to stay in Formula One. So since they are going to stay in Formula One, in my mind anyway, we need to see what needs to be addressed, what needs to be fixed. And that's what we're here for. Because what I'm going to do right now is I am going to play F1 Manager. Sort of. I am going to be the boss, the big boss, the head of projects of Red Bull Racing. And I'm going to sort of address the key staff, not all the staff, because pit stop mechanic number 3, don't know enough about him, really won't work, and you don't really want to be getting rid of all the staff. And let's face it, if we did look into all the staff and look into all the details and what schools they went to or anything like that, this is going to be a 24-hour video, and neither of us are going to want that. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at the chief staff. In particular, we're looking at 7 positions. Yes, 7. Now, as we know, there are already 2 vacancies. The sporting director vacated by Jonathan Wheatley and the chief designer vacated by Adrian Newey. Before we start looking into replacing them, we need to see if there's going to be any more vacancies from the sort of firings that we're going to be doing in our fantasy world, and working out from there. So since he's on the screen, Christian Horner, does he stay or does he go? Well, like I say, there's no doubting his abilities as a principal. I think he is amazing. I think he's underrated. I think he's disrespected sometimes. But heart surgery needs to be performed on Red Bull. Like it or not, whether it's more the media or whether it's more it's genuine what's going on internally, the incident that Christian Horner was part of at the start of the year has had a part to play in the negativity in Red Bull. So for me, for the good of Red Bull and for the good of Christian Horner, to be quite honest as well, I think he needs a fresh start. I think he needs to go. So that's Christian Horner. How about the others? Well, we're going to look into 4 more. Here are the 4 more. And again, we're going to look into them one by one. I think the first one we're going to look at is the top left, Hannah Schmitz, the strategist at Red Bull. And I think it's clear to see she has been an absolute diamond in Formula One. Forget any sort of things in regards to diversity or anything like that. Let's not beat around the bush. She has been brilliant. I think she has done everything in her power to get the most amount of points from Red Bull. And I think she has been absolutely brilliant. I think absolutely she needs to stay in the team. The only way I could see her not being a strategist is if she got promoted. But absolutely, no doubt in my mind, she stays. Let's look at the other obvious one as well, the bottom right, Max Verstappen. I don't think we really need to make many arguments in regards to Max Verstappen here. I don't think, the only thing I can see is somebody prizing him away and spending a lot of money on prizing him away from Red Bull. But I really cannot see any reason why Max Verstappen leaves. I think absolutely he needs to stay. We've got 2 more here, Helmut Marko and Sergio Perez. Now, let's address Helmut Marko first, I think. Yes, Helmut Marko first. Or do you look at Sergio Perez? I can't remember the order. Well, we'll see. Do you know what? We'll just address them both. We will assign the icons and we'll see which way we went. So let's start off with Sergio Perez. Let's look at the positives. I think as a midfield racing driver, and especially if he gets a feeling that he is a highly respected driver in the team, Sergio Perez can do bits. Sakir Grand Prix, last to first. Let's not forget that. We can never forget that. The amount of podiums he got at Racing Point and Force India. The amount of, just absolute driving the wheels off cars. The stuff that you saw George Russell do in Spa before he got disqualified, that one-stop strategy. Sergio Perez was well known for that. He used to be like the tyre whisperer. There always used to be a tyre whisperer in every season, and he used to get that thing because he was absolutely brilliant at making the most of tyres. But I have to say, I think it ain't right for him. This is no disrespect to Sergio Perez because he's still miles above any level I could be, but he doesn't seem to me to be a top team driver. I think he needs to move on. How about Helmut Marko? Like Christian Horner, he has some skills about him. Like Christian Horner, I don't think there's any doubt that he's had some negativity surrounding him. Should he go? This one's a bit more 50-50 because there is no doubt in my mind that there is some things that aren't quite going right. You know, the Red Bull racing program doesn't seem to be getting the bite that it used to. And he has had his fair share of comments that have gone down poorly. But there's one thing that means, for me, he has to stay. If he goes, the likelihood here is Max Verstappen goes. Weirdly, Max Verstappen is the only reason why he's there. If Max Verstappen got poached by another team, Helmut Marko goes without a question of a doubt, without a shadow of a doubt. But at the moment, Max Verstappen is still there, and based on that, he stays. So, Perez goes, Helmut Marko stays. So, with all that in mind, we have got four positions that are open. We've got the team principal that needs replacing, the chief designer that needs replacing, the second driver that needs replacing, and the sporting director that needs replacing. And that's the order we're going to go in. Let's start off with the team principal. Now, I wasn't going to do like sort of fantasy, full-on fantasy Formula One here. I wasn't going to do that side of things because, well, at the end of the day, we want to be looking at sensible options that are going to happen, likely to happen should this sort of thing be needed. So, I looked at people that were either going to be free agents or are people that I could see leaving, and at least I give my reasons for them leaving. So who will we have as team principal? We need somebody with a bit of maturity, an older head on, someone who's got the experience of being a principal, someone who could basically be the next Christian Horner without any controversy. And actually, I think there is somebody who is absolutely the standout candidate for this. Andreas Seidel. Andreas Seidel has been replaced in the Audi project. He's now gone. And it's now Binotto. And actually, look at his activities when he was at McLaren. When McLaren was just rebuilding. He was the one that was responsible for why Lando Norris kept on getting 7th in a poor McLaren car. He was building the team. There was a maturity about the team. There was a cleverness about the team. They were getting the most out of the car. And actually, I think he would be absolutely brilliant. I think he's one of the most underrated principals ever. You look into it, and there is a maturity. There is a calmness about him. And I think in a place like Red Bull where there's such chaos, I think he'd be absolutely brilliant. That one, smooth as ever, quick as ever. Christian Horner out, Andreas Seidel in. Now, How about the chief designer? This one's a tricky one, isn't it? Because Adrian Newey, he is absolutely levels above anybody else. Be interesting to see where it goes, whether it be Aston Martin, whether it be Ferrari, wherever it might be. We'll see. Now, here's the thing. There was somebody that was top of my list, top of like, oh, I'd like to see this person at Red Bull. And that would have been Enrico Cardile. Now, Enrico Cardile was at Ferrari and was part of the reason, part of the thing behind the design of the Ferrari 2022 car. And let's face it, reliability aside, that Ferrari car was brilliant. And let's not forget as well, Cardile was actually part of the reason behind 2021 as well. You know, where they had very limited resources to change the 2020 car to the 2021 car. And somehow they made it from basically being a mobile brick to being a very, very capable car. I think absolutely, no doubt about it, Enrico Cardile would be top prime position for this. One problem though. Enrico Cardile has gone to Aston Martin. And that's interesting, by the way. Enrico Cardile has gone to Aston Martin. Adrian Newey? Opening it for Ferrari? Let's see. So, who could go to Red Bull? Well, I have to be honest. This decision of mine that I would go with, it's a risky one. It's a very much a risky one because this guy is brilliant in certain aspects and awful in others. You see, in the mid-2000s, he was behind the McLaren program, where they built a brilliant McLaren car. And did really well. But he's in a position where he's got a point to prove. And the reason being, it's Mike Elliott's. Now, here's the thing. Mike Elliott's car at Mercedes was a piece of garbage, for want of a better word. They scrapped his design as soon as James Allison went in. Oh, by the way, James Allison was one of the ones I was interested in, but since he's gone back to Mercedes, unlikely he's going to leave again. But I think Mike Elliott might be in that thing of, I've got a point to prove here. Might have a good team around him, learns his lessons. Now he can basically start afresh. Potentially, I could see Mike Elliott doing really well at Red Bull. Really, really well. And whilst it might be a risky move, if he was offered the job, would do everything to be successful. He might even do it to spite Mercedes, I don't know. But yeah, that is a certainty. Now, how about the second driver? Because the second driver market is... It's quite difficult finding a second driver because you need someone that's good, of course, but you need someone who's also submissive, willing to back down, willing to back off and let Max Verstappen rule supreme, but also somebody who can step up to the plate. Somebody who, if Max Verstappen leaves, could be a capable replacement as the lead driver. This is where we're going to go in bold. And actually, I've heard a couple of people chat about this, and I'm very much not against the idea. I think it should be Perez out, Valtteri Bottas in. Maybe even a swap. What's going for Valtteri Bottas? He already has this capability of being an elite second driver. And that's no shame on Valtteri Bottas here either, by the way, in terms of the wingman or anything like that. He has that ability. He has that about him. He is Finnish. Sisu is in his blood. All that side of things, right? You want to win, hire a Finn. Maybe that's what they need to do. Now, Valtteri Bottas is going to be that sort of person that isn't going to take any stick, that isn't going to take any rubbish, but he's also willing to do what he needs to do for the team. And I think it'd be absolutely clever to bring him in alongside Max Verstappen because, again, I could see him winning races on the regular. I could see him doing this. Let's face it, Valtteri Bottas at stake has been horrible to watch. Horrible to watch. And moving from a team that's doing a 30-second pit stop to a team that does a sub 2-second pit stop, yes, please. I think he'd be brilliant at it. I think he'd give Max Verstappen some tense moments, and I think actually he'd be brilliant. No doubt about it. If he was a second driver this year, I think Red Bull would he would easily be in top 4 of the championship. So that would be Valtteri Bottas to me. I think he'd be absolutely a shining light for the Red Bull second seat. And again, maybe a straight swap. That'd be perfect for Perez as well. Again, he'd be making the most out of a lesser car rather than losing out in a bigger car. So that's that. Where are we at so far? Christian Horner out, Andreas Seidel in. Adrian Newey out, Mike Elliott in. And Sergio Perez out, Valtteri Bottas in. How about Jonathan Wheatley's position now? How about that sporting director? The thing that started all this conspiracy or discussion off about Red Bull. Well, I had a little bit of a think about this because, again, you want to be looking at something that's achievable. Someone that's maybe coming to the end of a certain journey, not necessarily the end of their career, but the end of a certain journey, and willing to take on a new challenge. And I'm going back to Mercedes for this one, because with Lewis Hamilton finding fresher pastures, there's one person I could see being a sporting director, should they not follow Lewis Hamilton, which it's unlikely they will. And someone who clearly shows the emotion, but also knows how to keep it together as well. Knows how to support the drivers, and knows how to make the drivers feel supported. Of course, I'm talking about Bono. Peter Bonington. Let's not beat around the bush here. He knows how to build an incredible relationship with his drivers. And I think, actually, what a brilliant way to have it. I mean, him and Andreas Seidel probably look quite similar. But actually, the discussions they'd be having, really good. He knows how to guide his part of a team to 8, 9 world championships. He knows how to guide a driver through 6 of their world championships. He knows how to do this. He's seen it firsthand. It would be a step up. It'd be a brave move, but I think he'd be perfect for the role. And here's the thing, right? A race engineer being a sporting director I think works, but it's a risky move because race engineers have a bond with their drivers, right? It's why I didn't really look anywhere else because of that side of things. But Pete Bonington's bond with Lewis Hamilton will be ending at the end of the year at Mercedes. Now, if he's not going to be following to Ferrari, which I'd love him to do, by the way, I think Pete Bonington at Ferrari would be amazing, like the modern day Ross Brawn or something like that. Why not take on a challenge? Be the sporting director. He knows how to get the best out of drivers. He could be that sort of be the James it's Valtteri. Valtteri it's James side of things, right? Could be the one that sort of overrides, you know? He could be the one, you know, maybe having discussions with Max Verstappen and going, you know what? I like your passion, but we need to make sure our reputation isn't damaged. All that jazz. I think that would be a clever thing. Now, here's the thing, right? Let's go back to the first instance of what started it all off. Wheatley and Newey leaving. Like I say, I can't see this being the end of Red Bull. I think this is the start of something. Let's face it, it's a watershed moment, right? It almost feels like, let's put it in a nicer terms. It almost feels like when it was the end of Ferrari and Schumacher. You know, when John Todd left, when Ross Brawn left, when Oh, who was it? The guy that was part of Spygate. But when he got demoted, when Schumacher left, there was surgery that needed to be played on Ferrari, and they had to get things fixed. Stefano Domenicali came in, all that. This could be Red Bull's opportunity to bring their next generation, their Red Bull 2.0, for want of a better word. And look, I might be a Lewis Hamilton fan, but I cannot overlook the impressive achievements that Red Bull have done. You know, since they started, I think they've won the second most amount of championships, potentially even the first. You think since they started in 2007, they've probably won nearly half of the championships. The 4 with Vettel, the 3 with Verstappen, 7 world championships in 17 years. Mercedes probably the only one that's outperformed them. They have been brilliant. They have been amazing. They're one of the top manufacturers, and they've been here less than 17 years. In terms of age in the sport, they're babies compared to Ferrari. They're babies compared to McLaren. They're babies compared to Williams. But they are the top dogs. The whole time that Mercedes had their dominance, they were the third best team, the second best team. They know how to build a race-winning car, even if they can't build a world championship car. This is not the end. This is a chance to revitalize, rebuild, refresh. And truth be told, as much as there might be a bit of toxicity around it, that could be addressed. Red Bull as an outfit are brilliant. And look at the people they've hired. Adrian Newey, and stayed there. Gunter Steiner, and stayed there for a while. Jonathan Wheatley, and stayed there for a while. Who else of them have broken the barriers first? Yes, Lewis Hamilton is the first black racing driver. But you look up and down the paddock, and it's quite clear that there's more diversity in the Red Bull racing team than in any other of the teams. Hannah Schmitz being one of them, but there's at least 2 of the pit crew, I think, that are black or non-white at the very least. This is a team that can press forwards, that can move forwards. They are a team to look out for. There is a future there. They're the team that's bringing forward the drivers. You look at the drivers that are there. Yuki Tsunoda, Daniel Ricciardo, Pierre Gasly, Alex Albon, Verstappen, the previous drivers in Vettel. They are bringing forward a good portion of the drivers that we're seeing today. And we've got Liam Lawson along the lines. We've got other Formula 1 drivers that are along the lines, like Dennis Hauger as well, I think. They have the capabilities to continue to be a top team. It's going to take some changes. It's going to take some brave decisions. But let's not muck around here. Staff aside, Red Bull's here to stay. They are a brilliant outfit, and I want them to stay. So let's keep it up, because this team, they know their stuff. They know where to find the talent. Now, we just need to remove the tiny little bit of negativity that's in the team, and this team will continue to be a powerhouse. This has been an interesting chat. Like I say, it's been a juicy chat. But hopefully, there is some positive news. We will see if any of these predictions come true. And by the way, if my hirings all come true, or even half of them come true, I'll be impressed with myself. Maybe I should be the new head of a Formula 1 team. Sign me up. But until then, guys, from another YouTuber sitting in his chair, take care of yourselves. Enjoy your summer break. Enjoy the rest of the season. Love ya.